And we are live, folks. As per usual, welcome back to Honestly Speaking. How are you doing? Hopefully, you have a community that is pouring into you and one you are pouring into. This is our second annual year end closeout. That's why we have the Happy New Year stuff on our heads. And we're just gonna begin to talk. That's right, 2022 in his house. Prayers out to all those who are battling COVID right now. Our co-host is sick. We don't know if it's COVID, if it's not, but he not feeling well. So, yo, before we go any further, if you are watching this on YouTube, if you are watching this on if you are watching this on YouTube, if you are watching this on YouTube on Facebook, please share it, like it, and if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, no offense, that's cool. Switch over to YouTube real quick and make sure you like it and you subscribe if you can. If you can't, just stay here and please remember to post a comment. Remember, at any given point when people are tapping in, make sure that you tell a friend when you tap in. All right. Again, my name's Honestly Speaking. If you ever see any of us looking down or what have you, it's because we're monitoring the comments. It's because we are making sure we have the receipts. We're not being rude, folks. Hey, happy New Year to you too. Shout out to saying, hey, happy New Year, everybody. Soon to be New Year, Lord willing. So what we're going to do today, we're talking about what are the lessons that we should have learned. But before I get into it, I'm going to have my co-host say what's up. Let's start with Chris. Chris, you want to say what's up?
Hi, Happy New Year, everybody.
All right, Coach Jay.
What's good?
I love y'all glasses, Coach Jay. And last but not least, G. G, show him the shirt. G got on a lay.
What's going on? How's everybody doing?
All right, folks. All right. Thank you, Kay Johnson, for saying, hey, everyone, peace and blessings, much love. Peace and blessings back to you, Kay Johnson. All right. So, folks, let's begin to talk, right? So, when we think about uh, New Year's and resolutions and things like that, what are some of the things that people tend to do, right? So, what I'll do is I'll just call on Jay. What do you think people usually do around New Year's?
All right, yeah, sorry. Had to unmute. Around New Year's, they get together with family, they make resolutions, they party. Some people sleep. That's what I did most of this week, the majority of this week. I was like, I'm sleeping. That's all I did. So, I'm like this. I saw a meme that says between the 26th and the 31st, it is okay to do absolutely nothing. And so I was like, I'm committed to that.
Right. Kuji Jakalia. Self-determination. I am determined to. So we're at the age where we do the thing that used to be punishment as as a treat. Remember, somebody say, "Go to your room and sit in there by yourself." Somebody said that now. Thank you. We were like, yes, when you're kids, like somebody told you hell or something. But
You gotta keep the Wi-Fi on though.
I don't know how they made it back in my grandparents' days or Wi-Fi on punishment.
Exactly. Anybody else want to comment before we get into what we're talking about on today about what people tend to do around New Year's?
People clean, they do their laundry, they self-evaluate, get rid of relationships, get rid of people. Um, yeah, kind of like make goals, not resolutions, goals.
Right. Some people make goals. Some people do make resolutions though. And, G, did you want to comment on anything?
I think everybody hit the nail on the head. I mean, that's what people do. The
Right.
question is, do they accomplish it?
Right. So we're going to talk about that and lessons. If you look at the title, it says lessons learned, and in parentheses it says to be learned. Right. So a lot of times there's lessons that we say we learned, but our life shows that we haven't learned them. And sometimes there's ongoing life lessons. Were you gonna make a joke or say something, Jay, before?
Now, I was just going to say, like, if you make a resolution, is it a resolution that you're making if you don't follow through with it?
That's true. Because
So,
by
like,
definition, a resolution is you're resolved.
yeah, so you can set a goal and be like, dang, I got close. But a
Right.
resolution is like,
It's
you ain't,
done. It is
yeah.
done. Right. Right.
It's like I committed in my heart, I'm going to do this.
Right. Right. I think I'm glad you said that. I think in today's day, we think a resolution, a New Year's resolution, is to true resolutions as marriage is to back in the day marriage.
Oh,
Like we act like you
I
know
got a
what
better,
I
I
mean,
got a
right?
better analogy. Like,
Like
it's like Liam Neeson in Taken. Like, he said he going to do something, and he went and got his daughter when it, like, oh, I'm going to get you. And so,
yeah, but
one of
you know
those.
what I mean? Like back
Yeah.
in the day, how there was marriages. For those who don't know, biblically speaking, marriage was so sacred that you actually needed a divorce from being engaged. That's how deep marriage is. So I think a lot of times we think that marriage is going with part two. You know what I mean? Like, but this ain't that. That ain't this.
Message.
Yo,
Yo, that
that
cat.
cat,
Ah,
that
oh,
cat,
he started growing on him.
gee, that cat
He
scared
got it.
me.
He got it.
Yeah,
That cat. So
she
with that,
since the dog passed, she's been there. She is like, yo, I got your back. I ain't going
oh,
nowhere.
that's what's up. Cause you know, cats are they different. Cats, that cats are for cats. I once heard a pastor say that you can have the theology of a cat or the theology of a dog. And then he goes to say, he goes to say, a cat and a dog both have a owner. The dog says, wow, I love my owner. He loves me. He takes care of me. He does all of these things for me. He's so great. The cat says, I love my servant. My servant always gets me food. My servant always he said, that's how we see it. Like, the one that's taking care of us, we're like, thank you, servant. Or we're like, oh, thank you. Thank you, caretaker. Theology of a cat or a dog, oftentimes. And the fact that your cat did that is rare because most of the time, cats are out. If something happens, it's very rare to hear a cat saved a person's life. Cats be like, meow. Like that means leave. And if you don't hear it, they out. Right. And I'm not mad at it. I mean, hey, that's what they are. They're survivalists. So speaking of survivalists, with that having been said, there are certain lessons that we're talking about we needed to learn or to be learned in 2021. All right. So our first lesson, I'm going to go first. Our first lesson that I think that was learned in 2021 is that we ain't learned nothing in 2020 or 2021. That's it, folks. Why did I say that? Because let's start with the vid, okay? It all started, we were all scared. Most people were doing things to help out their fellow human. And then once this quasi pseudo jab that people saw as like some type of savior came out. You had some politicians trying to take credit for it. If y'all didn't see 45 and Owens in that interview, it was hilarious because he was trying to take credit for the jab, and she was like, but more people died under Sleepy Joe. It was like ridiculous, but he was like, no, but if you take the jab, then you're less likely to die. And she was shook. She was like, it did not compute with her current politics or politics, right? So you had people didn't learn nothing about the vid. They didn't. Like, or maybe they did and they just refused to accept it, right? We didn't learn much about that. Personally speaking, I can say that I thought I was learning that I could just drop all this weight real quick, but yeah, I got a whole gym in my house and my weight is exactly the same. All right? It's exactly the same. Hey, nevertheless, I can say that I'm healthier, right? And that I worked out more. I just wasn't as consistent as I need to be. So maybe I did learn something. But nevertheless, I'm going to say because it's the same, maybe not. Y'all, what do y'all think when I say people didn't learn anything? Does that resonate with y'all?
Yes, I teach, and so
Ah.
and so no, it's crazy, but going over. So I have a fifth grade class, and what I'm starting to see is that they're really third grade because in this year and a half, there was a lot of steps and things that were missing, and a lot of practicing that they didn't understand or just disciplines they didn't get to learn it. So now they're in class and it's almost like a different language.
Mm.
Um, and so, yeah, and so I'll say we haven't learned anything because a lot of people will say COVID gave us a chance to reboot the way we do school in some way, shape, or form. But we came back into the school building doing everything the same exact way as if COVID never happened. And then it's like, hey, we could have been more innovative with how we dispense information. But it's like, nah, we want to lecture. And I'm like, nah. So, yeah, I don't think we learned anything.
All right. I'm coming to you next, Chris. Y'all in the chat, tell me, what are some of the lessons y'all think we should have learned in 2021 that we didn't learn in 2021? In the chat, no matter who's watching, I see I got Jeffrey Leon Casey Sr. in the chat. Shout out to you, sir. I have Tamora and Ronnie Boom Bailey in the chat. So if y'all want to, definitely you got Kate Johnson and M in the chat too. Please, what are the lessons y'all felt like we should have learned, but for whatever reason we didn't learn it? You could even put why we didn't learn them. Chris, you go next.
So I think Coach Jay he hinted on something that's important. We had COVID forced us to learn new lessons in a lot of ways. In the beginning of COVID, one of the things that kind of breaks my heart in the beginning of COVID, like you said, everyone became so much more considerate of the other person, like so much more united. And don't get me wrong, we had the stores bought out with toilet paper. Like we had things that showed that people were still being self-centered. But even though the stores were bought out with toilet paper, you had people sharing toilet paper with their neighbor or checking on, their neighbor before they go to grocery stores so that they don't have to stand in line. Like it was just so many different things. Even the commercials. Like I tried to look for the commercials, especially the YouTube ones. Stronger together, safer at home. Um, the way actors and actresses, famous people, kind of like came out of their shell and did things to engage people. I just thought it was a beautiful thing to see for about maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and then things started to get a little crazy. Then it became, I want this to be over. I want to go back to normal. It was all about like self. and then the eruption of social justice issues and unrest, and then start off 2021 with the insurrection of the Capitol. Um, yeah, I just felt like we had a chance to be a nation known for unity, and we chose division.
Mm,
And that's what we brought into 2021. Um,
good stuff.
in addition to just wanting COVID to not exist so much that we don't put things in place that are necessary in case we ever have to deal with something like that again.
Mm,
Um, Classrooms, everybody wants it in person. We can never be virtual. But the reality is, if COVID is our new reality, we may have to do that again. And it's not convenient. But businesses have to figure out how to accommodate parents with children. And schools need to figure out how to prioritize, is it best for kids to be in the classroom? Is it best for them to be at home? So, yeah, I just think we came out of 2020 as a nation more selfish.
mm.
And yeah.
So we didn't learn how to be selfless. We didn't learn how to be unified in the way that we should have. What were you gonna say, Jay?
Oh, I was going to even add on to the whole idea that um, in COVID, going virtual became a big disadvantage for students with who are in the special education classifications, and even now, like they're in buildings and still aren't getting the services that they need,
Mm,
but they're required to do the same um, work with less help,
mm,
and so uh, that was a big eye opener, especially because I wasn't in a classroom for about 5 years, six
mm.
years, and so I jumped into the classroom because I was like I wanted to be in person,
Right.
and then I saw it was really just a lot of like behavior management or modification and everything like
Mm.
that, and not a lot of teaching.
Oh, Jeff Casey made a great comment off of Facebook. He said, "We didn't learn how to stop killing each other, but started to rob even more." That's a lesson that we didn't learn. I would agree. We didn't. And I think that the reason why we didn't, I think us not learning that lesson was a byproduct of other lessons that we didn't learn. And we'll probably talk about that a little bit later. But my last thing that I said, we didn't learn. Uh, we didn't learn that politicians gonna politrick. I mean, it's really that simple. That's what, like, it's funny. Like Crystal said, we started out with the insurrection, and people thought that uh 46 was going to be this hope. Remember the great unifier, they called them. And then certain things happen, and all of a sudden, it's things like Stop Asian Hate, which is great. But I'm still trying to see where a reparations anything is. I'm saying we could walk and chew gum. I'm not pitting one against the other. I'm not that individual. We see certain legislations and things like that. We see money being taken from that was promised from HBCUs. And so one of the questions I want to ask us from this particular point on politics is where where do you feel like a politician made a huge change in a particular administration? I want you to think, like, I'm talking about groundbreaking. This really helped majority of us. I'm trying to understand where most politicians keep the status quo, and they do that by keeping us divided. I need for us to understand that. So if we unite on the issues that we're connected on, we can actually hold politicians to a higher standard. And the way we do that really is through local politics. Ask yourself, do you know what the responsibilities are of the local state representative? What about your local council? Do you know who your local councilmen or women are? And what are their responsibilities? Like, do you know these things? Because please know that those individuals have just as much, if not even more, greater impact on your life than national federal politics. Please know it. That's a huge thing. I'm seeing um and Andrea Sam says, sadly, our community didn't learn patience, compassion, and protection. Many still focus selfishly on personal rights instead of loving one another. I agree. I agree. Whether that personal right looks like my right to um, wear a mask. Now that I'm vaccinated, I have the right not to wear a mask because I loved you enough to get vaccinated when vaccines are have been shown, especially that they do not prevent you from getting or spreading COVID. So when it comes to that, or when it comes to individuals feeling like it's my right to not wear a mask, whether I'm vaccinated or not. And honestly, I even think asking people about their vaccination status is a bit intrusive. It's a bit intrusive. However, if everybody, again, and it's been proven, a mask protects the people from you. It doesn't protect you from them. So selflessly, it's like when we say cover your mouth. If someone go, it's the same thing. At minimum, we could be doing that, but we don't want to do that because we feel like you infringing on my rights. That's a muzzle for my mouth, and I'm not a dog. Like what? Go ahead, Chris, and then you say your next one.
It's funny, and I'm be getting into something we're gonna get into later, but not funny. It actually is saddening. So last night in preparation, I was looking up different things. And I just wanted to kind of see where things were in comparison to 2020. And in 2020, in the beginning of COVID, and when we had the lockdown and the quarantine, people literally almost tripped over themselves trying to take care of our first responders, medical professionals, anybody who had to be out. Meals offered for free or for a discount. Things got dropped off. Videos were made thanking them. Like there was just, you had people making masks on homes and sending them to the hospitals. And in an article I read recently, the amount of medical professionals who have lost their job because they have not gotten vaccinated is huge. So much so that some have chosen to take legal action. I'm like, how do we make that turn? Like, how do we go from March 2020 to March 2021? It's a completely different perspective, a completely different reaction to those who choose to get up every day and go out and care for people who are unhealthy, who whether they have COVID or not. Um, so yeah, to your point, I agree with Andrea. It just became about us. Agree with me or I don't like you. Like literally, regardless of what you do. So
Yeah, really quick, really quick, or we saw how the politics connected to things had great influence on those particular decisions and how they were
right.
really connected to our core beliefs that we
Mm-hmm.
have and how politicians do what politicians do. That's why I said politicians on politrick. They're going to figure out what are you afraid of and what are you most passionate about. Like, so what are you angry about? Fear and anger run social media more than love and
Right.
compassion.
Right.
And it has a lot to do with our psyche, our amygdalas, the parts of our brain that is triggered in order to start our flight or fright response. So our brains are more in tune to things that are dangerous or upsetting to us, not because we're prone to be negative, but we're prone to survive. And if I look at this, I could figure out how I could survive a lot longer. It
Right.
is literal data shown on this. So, with that having been said, give us number two.
So the thing that I think we should have learned, kind of going with your theme from not learning much from 2020, but I would have hoped we learned in 2021 is to be intentional. And I've been learning, be intentional about taking time to pause daily. Um, when we were in 2021, people had like so much time, and I can't count the people who were like, I can't wait to get out the house. I can't wait to do this. I can't wait to do that. Don't get me wrong. I don't think we should be locked up for the rest of our lives. But 2020, although COVID was and is horrible and it is tragic and it's not something I would ever wish on us, that time we had in our, to get alone, to be alone, to think, to use, to process, to accomplish goals, like there was time to pause. And I think, do I think we should have hours and days of pausing? No. But I don't think as a culture, especially in America, we do well with pausing. We are slaves to time. I got to get from
Mm.
this thing to the next thing. I can't be late. I can't be this. I can't be that. Pause. Just pause. Even if it's for 5 minutes, you can pause. You can pause 5 minutes after completing a task, 5 minutes every hour when you're working. Just 5 minutes of silence so that your brain has time to catch up, to rest, to rejuvenate. It's how we are able to be more productive. If you're constantly going, 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 you literally are draining yourself. If you take time to pause, you're giving yourself refreshment.
Yep. Andrea said facts. Anybody else want to speak on the things that Crystal said? I think she said it well, but
Yeah, she said it well. It's not totally what Kristen said, but it was just something that, being that I recently traveled outside of Philly, and being in the airport and stuff like that, something that I think we should have brought over to 2020, 2021, 2022, and in the future is, men, when you go to the restroom, wash your hands. I'm tired of being in the bathroom and seeing someone come out of a stall and do this in the mirror and they out. I'm tired of it.
If that's how they make me
And
feel, girl, I ain't doing it.
hey, yo, I'm tired of it. And that's why everybody gets sick, because people don't wash their hands. They really think their germs are not germs. That is a serious issue for me. And it's like, I just be amazed at how many people do it. I'm amazed. I'm sorry to shock y'all. I see your mouth hit the floor, but I'm watching them twice. I'm watching them for the person that didn't go out. you know, I can't take it no more. I'm like, yo, you just came out the stall. You wasn't at the urinal. You was at the stall. Wash your hands.
so this is my thing. This is the reason why I only give guys fist bumps. This is like legitimate. So I'm anybody who knows me knows I biologically I have all brothers. I only give guys fist bumps for that reason. I see guys walk down the street with their hands in their pants. I don't understand it. I don't have to understand it. I don't I don't know what they're checking for, what they're trying to comfort themselves about. I don't know. Maybe they need that. Listen, you got it, bro. Whatever it is, and then they take their hands out of their pants and give men dap. It is beyond me. I am that. So when she said pause, pause. Like in every sense of the word, how we
I
say
was going to say it, but I was like, let me not.
no,
It was
that was it.
but
Pause and pause. Right? G hit it. G hit it. Pause, y'all. Pause.
but I had just to add this. I was hanging out a friend of mine was from the Middle East, and I saw they had these books on how to. And there's one book it was saying how to sit, and it's all these poems describing the activity of pausing or sitting as its own activity, and not something that you have to do, but something you get to do. And it was just like, and it was just like the way, like, so I'm looking at it like trying to figure out how to put together small lessons for my fifth graders. So I'm not just like sit down, but it's like kind of like making its own activity that's a part of your day. and that it's a needed piece so that you can uh, gain a different advantage on how you grasp information. And
Mm,
so, or just a way of reflecting, or it's just sitting down for the simple fact that I get to,
mm-hmm.
you know. So yeah.
Exactly. G, what's your last point? It kind of touches on this. Can you speak to that when you talk about the thing that you said? G, one of G's point that fits under pause is you can't pour from an empty cup.
Definitely. A lot of times, being in the helping profession, you're just going like at 1,000. Like you're trying to do the best you can do for people. And what ends up happening is, you're constantly pouring from your cup, constantly
Mm,
emptying out your vase and giving to others.
mm-hmm.
Um, and then you get to a point where you're empty. You begin to be depleted, and
Right.
you just need time for yourself, to replenish so that you can help more people. That's definitely
Exactly.
a lesson that I learned, um, not just this year, but over the years of doing any kind of helping work, whether you're a teacher, mental health, um, a nurse, everybody that's in the helping field, everybody has had those burnt out days where you're like, man, I just can't. And that's when you're at that point where you need to rejuvenate, you need to take some time for yourself.
Exactly. Exactly.
Can I just also just kind of piggyback on that? Oftentimes, people who help professionally help privately. They help personally too. So I think what is key is what you just said. Like you can literally be pouring yourself out. And so you think, I took a day off. But if you spent your day off running to the cleaners, taking people food, like legit, there needs to be rest, restoration, and rejuvenation. Like there needs to be an intentionality to pour back into yourself.
All right. With that having been said, G, give us your first one. What do you have for yours? You muted, G.
Can you hear me now? Am I there? Can y'all hear me? Good. All right. Stop wasting time trying to be perfect or waiting for the perfect time to do stuff. A lot of times, we think that it's going to be this once I get the house together, or once the kids get grown, or you come up with all these what ifs, or once this happens, then I'll be able to, and you fill in the blank. Um, just realizing that it'll never be a perfect time. So if you have a goal, if you have something that you're trying to do, um, if it's something that you want to set your mind to and accomplish, put the plan together and execute. Like, don't waste your time trying to figure out. Well, once I get these bills paid off, then that's when I'm take that trip to Jamaica, or that's when I'm gonna go visit Ghana. No, I mean, of course you have to put some money together, but you know, put the plan together. Put some things into action so you can actually carry out what your goal is for the year.
Excellent. I totally agree. Chris, Crystal, did you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I like that one. Life has taught me um, not to waste time. Um, yeah, I'm terrible at it sometimes because I'm so busy. But when you think about someone, just send them a text. You might not be able to make a phone call, but you can text or you can email. You can just say, "Hey, I'm thinking about you. I love you, or I miss you. Let's plan a time to talk." Um, like kind of like what well, yeah, exactly what he said. Don't wait to for the perfect moment. Don't wait to do it in the way that you feel like is perfect. Um, make every second count.
Yeah. One of the things that I was going to say is New Year's starts today. Like, if you think about it, time is it's not man-made, but it is man-calculated. So these things that we call like birthdays or a year, it's like it's made up. It's made up. Just like numbers are made up, but math is universally true. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to get too deep and philosophical, but we all do know that there is an infinite amount of numbers between 1 and 2. Between each number, there's an infinite amount of numbers, right? That numbers themselves are just placeholders that represent things so that you can come to greater truths and knowledge and understanding. That's kind of how it works, right? So philosophy and science go hand in hand, right? I say that to say, once we recognize, oh man, birthdays, smurf days, all this other stuff, we can become, apathetic with it. We can become nonchalant with it, laissez-faire with it. Uh, or we can actually take charge and say, you know what? Well, if every day is today, then today, what do I choose? Because today is what I have. So if today is what I have, then I can choose today. Today is my day. Today is the day that I can do certain things. We have a sister, Crystal and myself, who she'll just postpone her birthday. Like it blew my mind. Like if something comes up, I was like, I didn't even know you could do that. It was like who is this? She was a G of like time to me. You know what I mean? She was just like, my birthday's in December, but I'm celebrating it in March because March is more convenient for everybody. So it is what it is. I was like, she's a genius. Because clearly we don't know when Jesus was born, and we go along with whatever person said whatever about that. And please don't try to beat me over the head about no Jeremiah 10, because this ain't that, or about no solstice and Juniper and Saturnalia. I will source you to death. This ain't that.
What about
But my
Festivus?
point, Festivus, exactly. We can definitely celebrate Festivus. So my point is, take charge of the days that we have, because to Crystal's point, to G's point, we don't know if tomorrow is promised. And that's not like something that old folks say to just scare the mess out of you. No, it's true. We don't know. And for many of us this year, this has been a hard one. This has been a hard one for many of us, y'all. So take advantage of the time. All right. And Jay, what do you have? What do you have up next? Oh, you just went out.
Sorry, my computer it was acting funny. I was trying to hit the right button, and anyway. Um, so last year, we were talking about um, just reconciling with people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like people who I may have wronged or have wronged me, reconciling with them. Um, this
This
year
year
is
is
different.
different.
This was the year of like, you know what? We don't need this person in this space anymore, because um, while we've been cool for a while, you weren't you weren't about growth, so we got to move on. And actually had these conversations with people uh, over the past couple of days where I'm like, hey, like I thought we were friends, and as I did some reflection, um, I realized that, you know what, uh, we aren't mutually beneficial to each other at all. um, and so that means they were only holding each other back from something else. Um, and so yeah, just like somebody else say, you know what, we're not even friendly to each other. Like if you need someone to like give you a ride, then you call me, right? Or so so I said, you know what, like that was the extent of the relationship, and it never went any further. So it was a lot of good people I grew up with for years, and I'm like, you know what? I have to let them go and make space for new people. Um, and hopefully have new opportunities to learn something new from new information. Um, so yeah, that was one of my lessons of the year.
So yours was cut it out. You need to cut it. Cut it.
Prices
Cut
way too high. You need
it. Right.
to.
I would say that sometimes our life is addition by subtraction. Um, and for many of us, for any growth process, pruning is necessary. Pruning doesn't feel good. There's plenty of Bible verses that talk about the necessity for pruning. And sometimes people need to be, sometimes we need to remove ourselves from people. Sometimes we the thing that need to be pruned from people's lives. I remember I was going through it with one of my closest friends in college, and I called my mom, and my mom, I was like, Mom, this person is being shady. They're breaking my heart. And my mom prayed this prayer, and it was like beautiful and dangerous at the same time. And she was just like, Lord, I pray that you would remove her from everyone that would do her harm. And I was like, yeah, I was with that. And then she said, remove others from her if she would do them harm. And then I was like, what? Wait, what? You know what I mean? So my mom let me know that sometimes it ain't them. Sometimes it is you. And then sometimes it's y'all. It's not a matter of it's bad. It's like TNT. You put them together, and don't make no pause joke, y'all. Don't do it. But you get an explosion. Okay? Okay? So with that having with that having been said, go ahead, Jones.
All right. So when you're saying that, it kind of segued into another of my lessons, but I wanted to share something different. So I remember when I was a kid, I had this like calendar with like scriptures on it and different like verses. I forget what the verse was, but the commentary or devotional part of it was that like God never takes something away and doesn't replace it, right? Um, and so and it happened like it was interesting that like when my grandmother died, um, and out of nowhere, my uncle, who was sort of estranged, showed back up and needed to move in, and was this guy who just brought this energy to kind of help us through that time, but also like kind of like I'll say worked as a father figure for my brother and I, like with the lessons and things that he learned from the war and from like civil rights and from like sports and different things that he was in. And I was just like, yo, that was amazing. Um, and I'll stop there. I was going to segue it, but I'll wait.
All right. So I do think that there is, so to Jay's point, cut it. There is a time in life where we need to cut certain people off, and not just people, but behaviors and actions, right? So the next lesson, right? I'm going to say hope, not cliches, brings comfort during grief. I'm going to do my best to not lose it on this one. But there has been a lot of just like, I want to say, death, and to what needs to happen is we can't just continuously throw well-meaning cliches at people who have suffered life like altering losses. I'm talking about people having miscarriages and people like, oh, that's okay, you can always have another one. They're in God's hands now. you don't have to cry. If Jesus wept, I could bawl out. If Jesus wept, I could be a whole mess. And hope is not the absence of pain. It's not the absence of trials or anything like that. Hope is the presence of God in the midst of all of that. And so for me, ultimately, my hope, and y'all know me, I'm a Christian. My mom has a saying, and my mom's a very bottom line person. Either God has you or you're screwed no matter what you do. You could be comfortably screwed or uncomfortably screwed, but you're going to be screwed no matter what you do. So God has to have you. And again, we live in a society where we try to say that God having us means that we won't experience certain things. It is the Western comfortable, craftmatic cross type of Christianity. And it's not right.
It's not
Okay?
biblical.
Yeah, it's not exactly. It's not biblical. And again, just having God doesn't mean that you will not have fear. Doesn't mean you won't have trials, or it doesn't mean you won't have death. It means that God will bring you through all of those things as you lean on him, and oftentimes despite you not leaning on him. Right?
Weapons will form, right? Weapons will form, but they won't prosper. They still got the ability to form. So you're still going to go through some things because that's life. No matter what your faith is or how close you are with God, you're still going to go through some things. You're still going to have some trials and tribulations. Some people are going to lose their job. Some people are going to lose their family. Some people are going to lose their dog. It's things are going to happen, things that you just didn't expect to happen. But it doesn't mean that you're forsaken. It doesn't mean that you're by yourself. You know, I think a lot of times people think once they're saved, they are saved from experiencing any downfall, and that's a falsehood. That's that makes no sense. You know, the verse says that no weapons formed against me shall prosper. They're still going to be formed, but they won't prosper. They're not going to diminish you. They're not going to eliminate you. You know, that's what that verse means. At least that's what it means to me. Things are still going to happen to me. I still got to keep my head up. I still got to keep moving. I'm allowed to be depressed. I'm allowed to cry. I'm allowed to have anxieties. I'm allowed to have fear, but I'm also allowed to persevere. And I think a lot of times we forget that.
I think that to your point, I don't mean to quote the song, but my hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. Right? That's it. Like, and it doesn't even mean, it means that we need to change our definition of what certain things are. Because we think like the like the weapon formed against me means I won't get sick, means I won't even die, means that no, you can get sick, you could even die. God is still good. He brought anything we fear, and I'm not trying to preach, and I'm gonna pivot after this, but anything we fear, God already took care of. What you fear? Being sick? I got you. Why you fear being sick? Because I don't want to die. Well, I did that. I got you. And it's going to happen anyway. Jesus said in his word, in this life, you will have troubles, sorrows, but be of good cheer. In this world, you're going to have it, but be of good cheer because I've overcome the world. Right? So we got to stop acting like it's okay. Like it's not okay for us not to be okay. Or like becoming a Christian means that your problems ain't gonna be there. That if you not well, then that means that you don't have enough faith. That ain't even true. That ain't even true at all. Were you going to comment, Chris? Chris, were you going to comment? I think Chris is paused. Yeah, because
She's rejuvenated.
uh, well, we can always come back to this particular point. We can always come back to this particular point, but I just wanted to say hope is something that people need to deal with the grief, and not just grief of an actual physical loss, okay? Because people grieve relationships, people grieve jobs, people grieve hopes. Grief is a deep sense of loss, right? So you can't just we do, but we should not throw cliches and coffee mug quotes, Oprah-isms at real grief that people have suffered and lived through this year. Like, don't do it. It's not. It'll Christians. It's going to impact your witness. I'm just letting you know this now. All right.
That's an important point, what you just said, impacting a witness. It seems like, I don't know, the way I look at it is we go through stuff in order to help the next person. And it's funny because I saw this quote on Facebook and I think my uncle posted it. I don't remember it verbatim, but it's exactly how I think. Sometimes we go through things because what you're going through is going to help somebody. It's going to map out for somebody else that's going to be going through the same thing that you just went through. You're going to help them. A lot of times when we going through things, we ask ourselves, well, why me? I do this right, and I'm this kind of person, and I don't do this and I don't do that. Why not you? Because you're going to be the person that's going to help the person that's going to go through the same exact thing, and they're not going to have anybody to go to, or they don't know. I mean, there's a lot of us that don't know to pray about it. There's a lot of us that don't know to talk to people about our issues, and we just, we curl up in a ball and choose not to express it, especially men, and I'm including me on that. Um, at times, I don't want to talk about things that I'm going through. You know, I'm much more of an introvert than an extrovert, but um, it's important that we do those things. It's important that we talk to people, and it's important that if you go through something, to lend a helping hand. I mean, shoot, if I know you're going through something, it's nothing that um, you can't tell me. And I'm not just talking to the folks that's here, but I'm talking to the people that's hearing us. And that's with anybody. And sometimes I feel like it's written on my head because I could be on the bus and somebody sitting next to me, but you know what happened to me today? And I'm like, oh, okay, okay. It must be in the aura or something. I don't know, but I don't know. I feel like rambling now. I must stop.
You weren't rambling. You were making sense. I think that um not just Romans 8:23. I think that the whole entire, if you just read Romans. Just read Romans. Just read Romans. Start in 1, get offended with the rest of us. Start in Romans 1, be greatly offended, and then have enough of resolve to persevere. And when you get to 7, you're going to relate. And then when you get to 8, you can rest in that, and then you just finish it out. All right. But seriously, it is important not to throw cliches at people. Chris, were you going to comment on that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, can you hear me? Um, especially if you are a Christian and you understand what our hope is in, it's important to remind people of that. Like, don't just not give out cliches. Like, I can honestly say I was very encouraged to be someone who reminds people of what the hope is, and not in a way that's overbearing or in a way that is negating of grief. Um, I recently had a loss in my family, and I was talking to Honest-Leigh and kind of just venting, and 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 I said that this person is gone, and her response was real matter of fact, like, and
What did you say I said? What did you say I said? Because you went out.
for now, like, I don't get to see him or talk to him, and her response was for now. Um, so I just think it's important to point people to true hope. And don't know what true hope is. Maybe that's something you want to make a goal this year.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And question why your hope is your hope. Oftentimes, our hope stems from some type of wounds that we have. Like our greatest deficiencies become our deepest desires often, right? So wherever we're lacking, other people will often fill in for us. My question then is, just like I said, after we realize that hope, true hope, not cliches, quick, smooth statements, or Oprahisms, actually helps people when it comes to losses. Ask yourself, are are you willing to have hope if it doesn't mean that you get the thing you want? Like that is hard, but that's also a part of grief. That's also a part of grief. That whole acceptance thing, it's hard, but it's a part of it and it's a process. Um yeah. So hope, true hope, and a tribe that'll tell you and will hug you and will weep with you and won't have every answer for you, but will do their best to protect you from the well-meaning idiots that will break your heart. All right. Chris, I think it's on you with your next one.
So my next one kind of keeps in line with the first one. And these are honestly just lessons that I felt like I had to learn this year. Um, yeah, lessons that I felt like I had to learn this year and want to carry over into next year. I'm trying to get to it. I'm sorry, you guys. Um, so the second one is to kind of similar to making time. You want to productivity requires inspiration. Inspiration requires time. So sometimes I don't know about anybody else. I've been going through a lot, and it's hard to kind of reset to like doing work or doing a particular thing that you need to do or just being responsible. It's kind of I never experienced something that literally made my brain not work until recently. And in that, I had to take some time to reset. And someone said something to me that was really important. Um, Inspiration happens when you allow it to happen, and inspiration improves productivity. So I think in our nation, sometimes we rely on our skill or our natural abilities.
Mm.
And when something happens that interferes with those skills or natural abilities, um, we find ourselves wanting. Um, I think it's important to make sure that, or our schooling, whatever it is, your education, your degree, whatever it is you rely on, It's important to remember that we're lifetime learners and create the time and the space to be inspired and allow that inspiration to improve your productivity and not rely on things that can oftentimes um, not be enough for one reason or another.
Good. Good. That goes hand in hand with the whole pause. It goes hand in hand with taking time to recognize that now you can start. It goes hand in hand with exactly what G was talking about, right? When he was talking about no, stop waiting for the perfect time. Yep, yep. All right. I think Jay, it's on you. So what you gonna do? Oh,
Well,
oh.
I was as Crystal was talking, my next point came to mind also, which was, but I said winning isn't easy. That's why losers don't do it that often.
Mm.
Um, and I remember hearing that a long time ago. And I actually ran into a friend in the store earlier, and I was just like, "Yo," he was like, "What you been up to?" I said, "Failing." Right? He's like, "What you mean?" I said, "Well, I started this business, and um, just trying to figure it out, and things weren't going good. And so my thing is, I said, I wish I'd have started earlier, but you know what? I'm happy I started it now, and I could work on those things. So it's parts that like I'm not the most organized person, um, and so it's like learning organizational skills is important, um, and even just perfecting the craft of like not just with selling wine, but also like communicating what goes well with what, and keeping up with it even when people aren't always excited about it. And so, and I got burned out in a little bit of it, and then try to jump back. But it's like, no, you got something. You got to keep on pushing, no matter what's happening. And so, I can fail by saying, you know what, this is too hard, or I can do what's outside of my comfort and say, all right, I got to push this differently. Uh, this didn't work, so I'm gonna try something different to make this business um, hit its maximum level. So yeah, um, learning to not die in failure, but to turn all my L's into lessons. I'm living my
Mm.
best life. So no, sorry.
That was good. In one of the in counseling, we say failing forward. You know what I mean? Like if you think about a child, like they literally embody resiliency. Like their ability, and resiliency is just basically your ability to bounce back, right? So they embody that. And I think that in order for us to do that, there is we have to have a hope that is greater than our struggle. And I don't mean to take it back to hope because we're already past that. But one of the things that was stated is hope is waiting expectantly while groaning inwardly, right? So there's a learning in that process to to what to which Coach Jay just said. There's a learning in that. Hopefully, there's a learning in that. So to that, I would say one of the things that I wanted to say is don't waste your pain. Don't waste your pain. Pain is an excellent teacher. It's an excellent teacher. I'm also saying don't avoid your pain because certain pain is necessary for growth to take place. Hence the term growing pains, right? Certain pain is necessary. So, no, winning ain't easy because if it, what you say, Coach Jay? Because if it was, everybody be doing
Oh,
it.
winning isn't easy. If it was, losers would do it more often.
Losers would do it more often, right? Boom. Fail forward and don't waste your pain or avoid necessary pain. Anybody wanna add to that real quick? All right. Um, G, it's on you. What was your number two or your second thing that you had?
I kind of touched on two already.
All right.
In conversation, but my last one is trusting my instinct and praying for confirmation and discernment along with it. Um, a lot of times I've noticed like um, I'll be right on point. I'll be right on point on an issue or a move that's supposed to be made, and I just don't follow through with what my feelings are. And it's I hate to keep bringing it up, but with the recent passing of my dog, for like a week, I was thinking like, I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do, and then I was like, I should just take her with. I should take her with me, and I couldn't figure it out, and it was just like a nagging feeling, like spend more time with her or try to figure it out. I didn't figure it out while I was away on vacation. She passed away, and it was a feeling. I didn't follow up on the feeling with any prayer, and I noticed like that that's a no. Like if you have a feeling, if you have a uh, uh, something that's just gnawing at you, you should immediately pray about it. At least I feel like I should have immediately pray on it and ask for discernment. Like is this the right thing to do? Is this the wrong thing to do? And then some type of confirmation. I didn't do that. Um, I'm not saying that would have prevented her from passing, but it would have prevented the guilt that I felt about not being there. You know, if I possibly was able to bring her with me, then I think I would have felt better about it. And I think that could be applied to a lot of things. I mean, from going back to school to um, finding another job, all these things that we have in our lives happen. A lot of times we don't pray on it. A lot of times we don't ask for discernment. And I don't know. I think most of the time we right on the issues that we look at that person and like it's just something about homie. I just don't know. It's something he off. You let the person in, and then you find out it was exactly how you felt from the gate, but you kind of ignored it. You ignored the feeling. You didn't pray on it. You didn't ask for discernment. You didn't seek confirmation. And then once the situation happens the way that you thought it would, like you kind of beat yourself up about it. So I think that's for me that is something that I have to be in a regular practice of, not taking my instincts lightly, and then praying on it and asking for confirmation and discernment.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, because I don't necessarily say trust your gut, because your gut you could have IBS. But even emotional IBS, you can have some type of something that causes you. I think we all know some people like that. Something happened, they like, yeah, you was out to get me. Nobody's like, I didn't. They really weren't. Nobody's thinking about you, which is probably the worst thing for you. You know what I mean? So I don't necessarily know about trust your gut, but confirm through prayer and reading God's word that your instinct were was accurate. The Bible says test the spirits. If you like, it's hey, I'm feeling this. People who not Christians, they say stuff like vibes. I got this vibe. As a Christian, we all know it's spirit. My spirit wasn't right. I had a groaning. I had something was going on in me. Like something was gnawing at me. Um, and that's okay. That's okay. it's okay to acknowledge this is what I'm thinking. The Bible also speaks about the importance of good counsel. So it qualifies the counsel that you're gonna get. Just don't say counsel. You just don't have a caucus of people. Like Jay sent me these women that were talking, and I was just like, dang, this is the saddest thing I've seen in a long time. It was just like a caucus of unhealthy women that was wounded warrior women, the WWW, right? But it wasn't good counsel. But they was getting counsel. It wasn't good. And so who defines what's good in a biblical sense? God does. And so you look and see what that is. So test the spirits. Definitely listen to your gut though. Even if you do have IBS, listen to your gut.
You might need to make it to the bathroom.
Right. But you don't have to obey it. You take it to the scriptures, to counsel, and to the Lord. Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous.
If it's IBS, you gotta obey it.
If it is IBS, yes, you do. Yes, you do. You don't want to be backed up.
So it was the timing. The timing.
Give a whole new meaning to "woman, thou art loose," right? So yeah, thank you for that one. Go ahead, Jay. It's on you.
Yeah, I was going to just jump in because yes, to what Liana said.
Huh? Oh, you back? You're back. Gotcha.
I left.
Yeah, no, you're good.
All right. I was saying yes to what Lee just said, and I feel in my mind the way I look at it is like when things are happening, like you are constantly being prepared for something, right? And so at some point, you like it was like when my professor came to us in the middle of our Western civilization class at Eastern, and he was just like, "Yo, I'm quitting my job after this course." Right? He was like, we've been together for 2 years. So we had 2 classes with this professor back to back. He said, so we've kind of built a bond. And I want to share it with you guys that, like, as you guys are, I think we're like going to graduation. It's like, as you guys are leaving out of here, I thought it was time for me to quit my job as a teacher at this high school because I know I've learned who I've been built to be, and I can also now make this decision because I was being prepared for this through the stuff that happened at my job, through me being a professor here, through me having this bit, and I learned some things to be able to shift and make a decision. And so I think in some of it, and not to discount any of what was said before, is that like sometimes we don't want to jump into like praying more than what we've been doing when it's like, hey, the door is open, like do this, like this. I don't know. I'll pray on it again. And then the door closed and he was like this, yo, I guess it wasn't it might have been, but you didn't trust that he was doing something in you to prepare you for it. And so yeah, so sometimes it's like I'm so in the whole idea of like trusting your gut, like we'll throw a lot of steps in, and it kind of like prevents us from like jumping into what we're supposed to be doing. I.e., I could have been doing something. What I'm trying to do now, I could have been doing years ago, but I second guessed it, and put other things, put fears and everything in front of me. So yeah.
Yep. So that was to G's point earlier.
Yeah.
When he was like, G said something very similar. Sometimes the biggest mistake that we make is the one that we didn't make. Like straight up, sometimes the biggest mistake is the one we never made. And mistakes, someone said, I don't know the person who made no mistakes, but I know the person who tried to never make a mistake never made anything. Right? So I think that's important for us too. Jay or Chris, do y'all have any more?
My last one is really like knowing knowing that your tribe is not always with you or or close to you in proximity. Um, and that like so, and I say that because uh, over this year there are people who I've had contact with and connections with uh, who were in Philly, weren't near Philly, right? Um, and some people they would just jump in and say, "Yo, we love what you're doing, and we're going to throw X amount of dollars into your garden in West Philly."
Mm.
Right? There was another group of people who were like, "Hey, like we love what you're doing, um, and we love how we see you and your son interact, right?" Um, and they're like, "Yo, we're gonna get this for your son, right?" Uh, one guy in particular, this dude came to Philly, um, had all these things for my son, and was just like, "Yo, I just came here just so I could play video games and hang out, right?" And so and then it one gave me free time to work on some things that I had to work on, but also gave my son almost the attention that he needed, and like that, like it was a relationship that he was building with this person that was like, yo, they had a chance just to bond, to the point where even now, like they talk constantly. And then the biggest thing was that um, just learning like that even if people aren't close, you can still be close and they still be your tribe. Where I had a friend from back in the day, right? And we were cool, but then we ain't talked for a while. And then came back to Philly, COVID was going on. Me and her brother connected, and then me and her started hanging out and having like it was like yo and it was like one of my good friends Erica, like so now she just travels on a bus around the country. That's all she does. She has her own bus. She turned it to like a house. And that's what she does. But she came to Philly for a while, and it was just like what that did. It brought all the people we grew up together, like for almost 2 months. Like, and we were like distant. And so I was like this, yo, like, your tribe's not always with you, but when they're with you, you know it.
Right.
You know.
They,
So
your tribe doesn't have to physically be with you
no,
to
it
be with
doesn't. Right.
you. Right. Right.
You
I
know.
think sometimes some of the strongest tribes are the ones that, and tribal members are the ones that aren't physically in close proximity,
Right.
right? But they'll do what they got to do to to reach you. You know what I mean? Like the Bible talks about that. The Bible says, friend lives at all times, but a brother was born for adversity, right? So like you could have a tribe, right? You can have a tribe, and believe it or not, we all have a tribe. Believe it or not, we all have one. It's just, is yours healthy, and does it allow you to thrive? You know what I mean? Like I know people all over. One of my closest friends is in a whole nother country. One of my closest friends in a whole other country. And when we talk, it's not like we didn't skip a beat. Um, I think that is important. So if you're someone that has certain needs, it is important that your tribe knows the needs that you need to get met. But it's also important for us to know that not every member of our tribes has to do the same thing. You know what I mean? Different people have different roles.
I think
Um,
that's a good idea. Conversation on like reciprocity is that you don't like it's a give and take, but it's not always the same thing, right? Like we all have different skills and deficits, and like together, you know, we kind of blend and make like a full picture. So
exactly. Exactly. Um, all right. Does anyone want to comment on that? And Chris, do you want to go?
Yeah, I'll comment and go. I like that you pointed that out. Like they don't need to be there in proximity. Um, and to that, I would also add if they are a part of your tribe, and not in a way that is condemning or like you feel pressure, figure out what it looks like to um, pour into them. And that might
Mm.
not mean, that might not mean, like they might be the type of person that you only talk to once a season. Like I have people who I feel like they're definitely a part of my tribe, but we only talk once a season. Um, but I might be slacking on making sure that I'm keeping up that communication, that contact. Like whatever it is that works, maintain it. Um, Kind of going back to what we said earlier, time is precious. Um, so maintain it. Like it's some people that I haven't Marco Polo since the summertime, and it's on my list this week to make sure I send them a Marco Polo. Um, so yeah.
Yo, Marco Polo was the John. Like, I someone sent me a message like 2 weeks ago. That's crazy. Go ahead.
Great.
And for those of you who are not from Philadelphia, John is a verb as
Mm-hmm.
well as a noun. It can be whatever it is we want it to be in the moment. For instance,
An adjective.
remember when we were on the Honestly Live, John, and the John said to the John, "Hey, Marco Polo was the John." John. All right, go ahead, Chris.
So yeah. My last one, you guys, is kind of super simple. Um, Basically, I just said that knowledge, wisdom, and I want to say that knowledge, wisdom, and prudence are essential for personal growth. So again, before we even decided to do this show, just me kind of processing a lot and assessing where I am in certain areas, um, made me think about the fact that knowledge is a continual pursuit. Whatever that looks like for you, um, it may not look like going to a college formally. It may look like taking a class. It may look like reading books. It may look like Googling. It may look like um, being a social media hoarder of information. Um, but whatever it looks like for you, using that knowledge, turning into wisdom by application,
Mm,
and
that part.
allowing prudence to guide you as to how to use it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's not enough. Like we're on these shows. We're now closing out a full year of Honestly Speaking, and it's great to talk with you guys. It's great to have this time with you, and it's affected my personal life. Like I am learning. Not everyone wants to process. Some people just want to say stuff. Not everyone wants knowledge. Some people just want to repeat things they heard. Um, not everyone desires wisdom in certain areas. Um, they just want a bunch of information. So for me, I'm learning where I need to apply my knowledge to gain wisdom and implement prudence. But I'm also learning how to have conversations with people based on where they are on that spectrum,
Mm,
and to have fair expectations in conversations
mm,
with people,
mm.
so that I don't put myself in a situation where I'm expecting reciprocation in a way that I am not going to receive it.
Mm. That's a whole show in of itself. What does
That's
reciprocity look like, right? This is woo, right? But I think what you said was key, because it was said earlier when I was talking about how information, and I was giving my example of personally, did we even learn anything? And I spoke about how I learned information ain't facts, facts ain't truth, truth ain't understanding, understanding ain't knowledge, and knowledge ain't wisdom. You know what I mean? However, wisdom includes all of those things, right? As well as action. And I would like to add to what you said. I'm going to say discipline, self-discipline. Cuz I can be the most informed, lazy person on the planet. Like I know everything, but I ain't doing nothing. And I think we've mistaken knowing with doing. And according to the modern day prophet, G.I. Joe, knowing is half the battle. Knowing is half the battle. So, what's the other half? He would just say knowing's half the battle and then go off, mess me up. Like, I'm like, what's the other half? How are we gonna win the battle, Mr. Joe, sir? Like, yo, it was doing. It was doing. Doing was the other. So we gotta do that, John. You know what I mean? Do that, John. And speaking of which, we have some great people who watch who literally put the definition of John up. But we have to do that, John. All right. We have to make sure that we apply what it is that we know, because when we can mistake knowing for wisdom. And we talk about one of our vocabulary words is nuance. Knowing something doesn't mean that you are wise in a thing. Wisdom is when you use temperance and prudence and how to apply what to do. Temperance is knowing when to do what. Think about it like a jump rope. When to get in, when to get out. Boom. That's temperance. Double Dutch. There you go. Boom. When to get in and when to get out. Prudence. Prudence is the best time. Right? So all of those things touch on the thing that G was talking about before when he spoke about discernment. When he talked about the importance of getting discernment. And the Bible says, though it cost all you have, get understanding. Get understanding. And we got to apply it. We got to apply it. And why? Why do we have to apply it? Because it touches on the thing that Coco said. I was talking to him about it today, and he said, I'm gonna reframe it. Wherever you go, you take you with you. Wherever you go, there you are, folks. So all of this, we can say you can be the most informed person on the planet. And it doesn't mean anything, because if you look at all the issues, if you are someone that looks at all the issues in life and only looks at all the issues in life, and you don't see how you contribute to the issues in your life or the issues in society, then it's going to be cyclical. You're going to keep on running into the same thing over and over again. And then you'll start using generalities, saying, well, most people or most men or most women or most black people or most white people. And here's the thing, you might be right, but your heart will be as wrong as two left shoes. You could be correct, but your heart could be wrong. So with that having been said, did anybody want to comment on what Chris Clear said before I review the 10 things we spoke about? Nah, all right, great. So starting from number one, the first thing that we learned from 2021 is that we may not have learned much. So it would do us a favor. It would behoove us to go back and to review the themes, both personally, spiritually, nationally, internationally, and even locally, that were missed, right? And see how they apply to you. The second thing we learned was to pause, take a break, give yourself time to not be okay, as well as pause, wash your hands, right? Then it's important for us, after we pause, to stop waiting for the perfect time to do something, right? That's what Jesus, stop waiting for the perfect time to do something. I said New Year starts now. Take that time. Don't make a New Year's resolution, make a right now resolution. Be resolved. And it's gonna touch on a couple other things. But when you're doing that, the fourth thing is, no, sometimes you gotta cut stuff out. Stuff has to be pruned. Sometimes the thing that has to be pruned is us. The Bible speaks about how certain branches were taken off and then put back in later. So sometimes you can be upset that you were removed from a situation. Hey, I don't mean to preach, but then you can be grafted back into that situation later on. Why? So that you can produce more fruit. A lot of times we look at our lives and be like, I'm chilling, I'm doing good, I'm doing this. And God is like, nah, I need you to produce more. You like, well, I'm holding all I can hold. And he like, yeah, that's right. That's why you need to be pruned, because I'm building you up. So pruning hurts. It don't feel good. You look bald-headed when it happens. But at the end of the day, you have some long tresses of
That what happened?
godliness and character. All right. Um,
Get pruned.
um, Number 5, hope. True hope is what we should give people, and not cliches when it comes to grief. And we already established that our hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. On Christ, the solid rock, we stand. All other ground. See me in the comment section. All other ground is sinking sand. All right. I said what I said. All right. Number 6, inspiration takes time. Give yourself time to remember. We spoke about pause. During that time of pausing, have enough time for you to say, wait a minute, I need to reevaluate what I was doing. Don't just pause so that you can get R&R. Pause also so that you can get a vision, right? And develop the discipline to do that thing. Winning isn't easy, because if it was, losers would do it more often. It's important for us to remember that we are all going to fail at some point, but fail forward. All right? Fail forward. The next one, be aware of your instincts. Trust your gut by fine tuning it through discernment and prayer, godly counsel, and with God's word. Boom. And knowing your tribe doesn't mean your tribe doesn't have to be in a close proximity for them to be a good tribe, right? It doesn't. And number 10, knowledge, wisdom are knowledge and wisdom are essential. Why are knowledge and wisdom essential? Because wherever you go, you will take you with you. And at the end of the day, you can't blame nobody for your life but you. I am somebody who fights for reparations. I am somebody who is active in my community. I believe in all of these things. But at the end of the day, when I stand before the Lord, it is going to be me and him. I can't say that I am where I am because of systematic oppression. And yet I can acknowledge that systematic oppression can exist. Multiple things can be true. With that having been said, folks, we would like to say, from Honestly Speaking, Happy New Year to you all. May God bless you. May God keep you. It's okay to not be okay. As we always say, remember, love God, love your neighbor, which we're going to talk a lot about more, and love yourself. All right? Happy New Year, folks.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.